Today's video from Sam4S Help, we're going to give you an introduction to how to use the ER-940 cash register. So the ER-940 is part of the ER-900 range. If you've got an ER-920, then the process for operation will be exactly the same. The only difference, or the main difference between the two machines, is that the 940 has two printers, so a receipt printer and a real-time audit roll, whereas the 920 only has one printer, which you'll have programmed to be either receipt or journal. So the first thing to do, obviously, make sure the machine's turned on, make sure the till printers have got till roll loaded. Even if you're not printing receipts with every transaction, the till needs rolls loaded in order to operate. The next thing to do is to take the bunch of metal keys that you would have received with the till, pop one of those in, normally the reg key. The theory behind the keys is that you'll have one for each mode. So the reg key is for the operators because it'll only enable them to do sales transactions. They won't be able to turn to the void mode, the reporting modes, or the programming mode. So you've got your key in, you turn it to register, it says register mode closed, and this means the till is in an almost ready to use state, but you can't actually use it until you've logged in, so none of the button presses are valid until someone's logged in. Logging in, really simple. You've got some clerk buttons here on the standard programming, and you've also got a clerk sign in button. If you've got clerk buttons on, then normally you just press one of those and it logs you in. If you don't have them, then that's where the clerk sign in button comes in. You simply press the number of the clerk and then the clerk sign on button. If you want to log out to protect the machine from use while you're not there, it's 0 and then the clerk number button. But we're going to log in as operator 1, and then sales operation is really straightforward on these machines. So presuming you've had your machine pre-programmed, you've got up to 110 preset product buttons here on this portion of the keyboard. So this one says Carling Pint, so it's pre-programmed with the price and description. So you basically just enter the items that you want to sell. If someone has multiples of something, you type in the numeric value or quantity, then you hit the quantity time button and then hit the applicable PLU button, and it will sell 6 lots of those. If you make a mistake, that's easy to resolve. You can either do an error correct. So if I put in half a doom bar that's incorrect, there's an error correct key that will cancel the last item entered. It only works once, so it only takes off the last item. If you've made a mistake earlier in a transaction, so I'm going to get rid of my first Carling Pint, so I've got quite a long sales transaction in there. How do I get rid of the first item I entered, because I realised I pressed that by mistake? I press void item, then the button, and it takes that Carling Pint off. Presuming that you've not made any mistakes, once you've entered all the items in the sale, you hit the subtotal key, and you've got a couple of choices for how you want to cash the sale off. I'll do a few transactions, so in this one I'll show you how to cash off a cash sale. If the customer hands over two £20 notes, you type in the value, so £40 without entering the decimal point, and then hit the cash button here. The change is displayed on screen. If you've got a receipt set to print out, it'll print out. That'll also show the change on there. If you haven't got receipt set to print but the customer wants one, you can now press the cash button and it will print out a receipt for that transaction. It's only applicable for the very last transaction, and as soon as you press another button, it forgets the transaction in terms of a copy receipt. So okay, now we'll do a card transaction, and we'll also show you how to do an open price product. So on this till, I've got a specials button programmed in up here. I haven't done it on the keyboard, but it's there. So normal products don't let you do what we call overrides. So these buttons all here are preset to be a specific price, and you can't give a discount to your mate or whatever, because the machine's been set to not allow that to happen. But if you have got buttons that are what we call variable priced, you simply type the price without pressing decimal point and then apply that to the PLU. Again, once you've entered all the items, you press subtotal, and this time we're going to presume that the customer's paying by cards. There's a special card button here which you hit. Drawer opens again, allowing you to pop in the card slip if applicable, and then you can close it again. And again, if you want a receipt, you can now hit the cash button to print that out. So that's basic operation of different sales. The machine's clever enough to have Cashier interrupt on it. So if I log in as operator 2 and then sell 5 pints of Guinness and wander off to pour them, my mate can come along, sign in as Clerk 1, run his sale through, subtotal £15 cash. I can then come back to the machine, log in as Clerk 2 I think I was, and it recalls my transaction. So I've got my 5 pints of Guinness in there, so I can now add to those, or I can simply cash off as before. The reason why you have different method of payment buttons, so on this machine we've got cash and card, is to help you at the end of the day. So when you do your end of day Z report, as we call it, which is a financial summary of the day's takings, you'll have one total for cash payments and one total for card payments. So it just makes it a lot easier when you're cashing up at the end of the day, providing all the staff have pressed the correct method of payment button, then that should all work. These machines have lots of different functions on them, so your machine might be programmed slightly differently. So this is a fairly standard setup. So on the machine you have a discount button as well. The discount buttons work in slightly different ways. I'm just going to pop a few items in. I think mine are set up to give an open discount on the last item entered. So if I just show you that again, if I enter a sale of, let's round it up to make it easy, I've got a £10 sale open. If I want to give a 10% discount off the last item entered, I take the percentage off. You can, so that's given 10% off the £3 item at the very end there, and then again you could subtotal and then cash the sale off. These buttons are quite flexible as to how they can work. You can set them to give discounts off the overall sale. You can totally deactivate them if you don't do discounts, and you can also preset them to be specific percentage amounts, but that's getting a bit more into the programming side of things. So we've shown you how to do a basic sale. We've had a look at some of the things you can do if you've made a few mistakes, about the error correct. So I'll just run those by you again. Error correct removes the last item from a transaction. If you've made a mistake earlier in a sale, then it's void item and the button you want to remove. If you've made lots of mistakes, then there's a cancel sale button, which will just totally void it. It will record the fact that a sale was started and cancelled on the journal roll, but it won't apply any of the sale to the end of day report. It will treat it as a cancelled order. So yeah, I think that's probably it. Depending on your programming, you may or may not have the table tracking function set up. So the 900 series has table management on it, and the 940 and 920 are specifically designed to utilise it. I've got a specific video showing you how to use the table management, which will appear at the end of this video. So rather than go into it now because it's quite detailed, I'll skip by that if that's okay, and you can check out that video because it might not be applicable for everyone. Okay, so then the other things to bear in mind that you might do during a normal day's transaction, unfortunately you might do a refund. So again, depending on how your machine's been programmed, you have a merchandise return button here. Now you can set the machine to not allow refunds in the reg mode. They'll only work in the X or void mode, and in which case obviously the manager has to approve them. That's the theory of that. But if you haven't, like this machine hasn't, to do a refund you simply press merchandise return, press the item that you're refunding, and then cash it off in the manner that you're issuing the refund. So if it's a cash refund, you just hit the cash button, and a card refund, you just hit the card, obviously. So it's just like a sales transaction, but you just press the return button at the very start. Once you've finished trading at the end of the day, you'll be looking to do an end of day report. So there's a couple of different report modes on this machine. You've got X and Z. X is read only and Z is read and reset. So the financial report is one subtotal. If you run that report, till we're all loaded correctly, if you run that report in the X mode, it gives you exactly the same information that you would get in the Z mode, but it doesn't reset the data. So that's why it's sometimes referred to as a flash report. So it's giving you the total value of sales taken today, and it will break down the discounts you've done, show you any voids, error corrects, and the method of payment as well. I won't run the Z report, but the process for running the Z report is exactly the same. You turn it to Z and press 1 followed by subtotal, and then it will reset the daily takings. So when you're ready to do the end of day report, Z mode, 1 subtotal, and it resets the data for the next day. Okay, we've got plenty of other videos showing you how to get the best out of the 900 series, including that one I've done on the table management, so please check those out. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel or visit sam4shelp.co.uk for more. Thanks for watching.